We are joined now by a panel of political journalists who know what they're talking about. Let's put it that way. CBS News senior White House reporter Jennifer Jacobs, Politico's Capitol Bureau Chief Rachael Bade, and Washington Post newly minted Chief Political Correspondent Karen Tumulty. Great to see all of you. We were just talking to Dr. Gounder about the ouster of the CDC director. We've seen the ouster of a handful of other officials at the Federal Reserve. Jennifer, I understand you have some new information on where the president may be seeking to oust people next.
Well, it's not like they're going agency to agency and picking an agency that they're trying to clean out. It's a little more random than that. But I can tell you that they're really serious about trying to weed out people who they think are working at cross purposes to their agenda. I asked around if there are more firings coming, and I was told yes, definitively. And I'll tell you a quick anecdote, Ed,
Sure.
that kind of illustrates this. So there was a surprise birthday party a few days ago for one of the president's top advisors, Stephen Miller. And he was entertaining this crowd, which included a bunch of cabinet secretaries and House Speaker Mike Johnson and other VIPs. And he was explaining about how back in the day when he and Mike Johnson were just, essentially nobodies, he would run his ideas by Mike Johnson. And even though Stephen thought they were crazy, even himself, Mike Johnson said that they were good ideas. And Stephen said, some of the stuff we're trying now is untested. But it just really illustrated how this president and his closest advisors are willing to do whatever it takes to try to push out people that they think are at cross purposes to their agenda. And that includes people at these quasi-independent agencies, whether it's the bureaucracy that they inherited or whether it's people that the president personally interviewed and selected, like the CDC director.
Yeah.
When Donald Trump talked on the campaign trail about draining the swamp, I mean, he's been talking about this for 10 years. I don't think a lot of people, thought he was talking about health officials, about scientists, about people who work in national security. But obviously he's taking it, his sort of, mantra to that point right now. And I mean, we have to acknowledge that a lot of people have said Donald Trump doesn't have this authority. When it came to DOJ and getting rid of a lot of federal workers, folks said, look, they have a lot of protections. You can't do this. Well, the courts, a lot of them have sided with him. And so he's taking it to the next step here. And, there's a lot of questions about whether he can do it. But obviously he's going to try. And he's succeeded a lot in the courts where a lot of people thought he would not.
But with Congress coming back, what are they going to do about it?
Well,
nothing.
Yeah, pretty much
Basically nothing. And this is not only, it's not only a war on expertise, but in the early phases, it was all about going after the so-called deep state, government employees, the bureaucracy. Now they've begun to oust their own people, their own appointees.
And as you write today, most of the conservative movement kind of hangs back, stays quiet about it, and lets it happen.
Exactly.
Not just stays quiet about it, they're encouraging it.
Right.
I mean, look at Laura Loomer and what she has been doing in terms of pushing for firings, and she's been very successful.
You heard Secretary Noem talk about crime. You saw Illinois Governor Pritzker's response to that, Rachel. Republicans obviously see this as a winning issue for them. How is Congress going to pick this up? Because a lot of this has transpired since their summer break began. They're going to get asked all sorts of questions this week as they come back about whether there's something they need to do to step in.
Look, I think you're going to see Republicans lean into it. I mean, obviously, this is an initiative that Donald Trump himself has been pushing. I don't think if you asked lawmakers, specifically Republican lawmakers in July, if they were going to be focused on a big crime bill in September, I don't think anyone would have told you that that would be the case. But Donald Trump has been very successful in terms of changing the narrative. I mean, when you think about lawmakers leaving town at the end of July, everyone was focused on Epstein and how the president couldn't shake that narrative. Now they're coming back, and the full focus of Washington is on crime. And this is an issue, as I have written in my column, that very much benefits Republicans. I mean, there are polls that show a lot of the nation doesn't like what he's doing with the National Guard.
Right.
But when it comes to people's approval rating of Trump and crime, he's at something like 54%, according to a recent
So
AP
he's found
poll.
a new issue to help boost him.
Yes, of course.
The word he used this week was trap, that Democrats are walking into a trap. And in fact, crime is an issue that has always been problematic for Democrats because they are sort of caught between not wanting to look soft on public safety, but also protecting civil rights, which are one of their core values.
Which is what I thought made the governor's answer interesting, where he said, yeah, you're right, I'm not helping the federal government with immigration because we're worrying about crime and public safety at the state and local level, and they'll do the immigration. And his ability to split those two, I felt, was a little cleaner than many other Democratic governors and mayors have been when they realize they're dealing with this hot potato.
The other thing that struck me in that too was him saying we would welcome some federal
Right.
help.
Yes.
The FBI
Send more.
helping us catch bad guys.
Yeah.
And I think that I was also, when I was doing reporting this week, it turns out a lot of police chiefs across the country are watching this with great curiosity because they want to see, you know, what's working here and what's not in DC.
Yeah, I thought his response about bringing in ATF officials and FBI officials helping with crime there, that showed me that Democrats are starting to maybe read the political tea leaves here and come up with smarter answers. Because when Trump first started talking about this, the response was, we don't need the National Guard. Crime is down. Look at the stats. But the reality is people don't feel it. 80% of Americans think crime is just as bad as it was recently or getting worse. Only 20% think it's actually getting better.
On the politics of it, Trump people don't just want to win issues. They want to systematically work their opposition into a corner and crack their coalition. And if you were to design an issue that could start to nibble away at the Democratic stranglehold on large metropolitan cities in the United States, this is it.
Yeah. You are, I like to call you Scoop, at least around these parts. And you had another big one this week regarding the future of Iowa's Republican Senator Joni Ernst. She's announcing in the coming days that she's not running for re-election. That had been talked about, thought it might happen. She had also made a 2-term vow, and so we're nearing that. Why'd she do it? And is it indicative of a problem for the party in Iowa or for congressional Republicans writ large that someone like her would walk away?
I think we're going to have to wait to hear from her on why she did it. It'll be very interesting when she makes her statement this week, if it does indeed come. But Iowa, it is really turning into a hot, hot battleground. You have not had an open U.S. Senate race and an open gubernatorial race at the same time with no incumbents in nearly 60 years. So my sources say that Iowa native Matt Whitaker is talking with President Trump about a potential run for U.S. Senate in 2026. He has told people he's going to decide by the end of this year. He's currently the U.S. ambassador to NATO, and he's been in the news lately for that Ukraine-NATO arms initiative. You've also got Republican Congresswoman Ashley Hinson, who Iowa Republicans tell me they're fully expecting her to jump into the race in the next few days. And activists, Republicans in Iowa really like her. They say she's very personable. She's obviously good in front of a camera. She came from the world of TV. Then you've got, on the Democratic side, this guy named Josh Turek, who is a Paralympic gold medalist. The Democrats are pinning a lot of their hopes on him. So you could potentially have an open congressional race, 2 other congressional races that are really tight, the open Senate race, the open gubernatorial race. Iowa's going to be a hot battleground.
Which is exactly what the Democrats want, because you've now forced the Republicans to spend money in a state they thought they had when they're also recruiting big names in other states. So this is a problem for them.
Yes, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, if Ernst were to run for re-election, she would be a shoo-in. Same thing with Tom Tillis. I mean, he retired in North Carolina. And what this shows us is that there's very little room for discontent or for pushback in, Trump's second term. I mean, Ernst ended up voting for Pete Hegseth, yes, but there was a time where she was potentially not going to. She got pummeled. I mean, I'm talking death threats. I mean, it was ugly. And my understanding is that she has told people that really soured her on politics. That's the same thing that happened with Tillis. And now, Republicans have to worry about defending that state as well.
But if it turns out that Iowa is truly in play as red as it has been, I mean, that does suggest the potential for a true wave election next year.
I will say, we were at the Iowa State Fair a few weeks ago, and I was struck how many people stopped me to say, I'm not happy with what he's doing, the president, or I've got issues with the governor, or I've got issues with Senator Ernst. I had not been approached that way by Iowans in recent years, and it suggests something could be there. The fact, though, that they've gone sort of retreading to get Sherrod Brown to run, and other names that Chuck Schumer's eyeing, former members of Congress, former Senator Roy Cooper, the governor of North. I mean, is that
70-something?
right?
Yes.
At a time when the Democratic Party is looking to get younger, it sure seems like Schumer's leaning on older officials to do this. Is that the key to their success?
Well, I do think that both Sherrod Brown and Roy Cooper are incredibly strong candidates. But elsewhere, I think they ought to let the primaries play out and let some of these younger, fresher faces emerge.
Right. Karen Tumulty, Rachael Bade, Jennifer Jacobs, thank you all for being here. Great to see you all. And we'll be back in a moment.